Hi there, I'm Thornton. It's 21 years now since I was interrupted before I went over my parents' banister with my childhood karate belt around my neck. It's, 3 or 4 years since I put out that video about choosing not to check out that went viral. Today, September the 10th, 2019, is World Suicide Prevention Day. And I'm supposed to come on here and tell you not to do it. I'm supposed to come on here and tell you to stay put and whatever demons you're battling to carry on charging through, but I'm not going to do that. Because for me, choice is massive, and I can no more tell you to stay here when you absolutely don't want to than I can tell you what colour shoes to wear today, or whether you should match your belt to your socks. What I can do is talk to you. I can talk to you really, really openly, and I can share some of the things that I've been through, and I can hope that they might help you to make a decision that is to stay put. But that choice is yours. That choice is always yours. So let me tell you what happened. If I go back 21 years ago, when I was about to check out of life, what interrupted me was a text from a friend. I'd sent a text to her, not as a cry for help, not because I wanted somebody to stop me, but because I knew that this particular friend always turned her phone off before she went to sleep, and she always was asleep and in bed by 9 o'clock. And I wanted to leave that because I wanted my friends and family to absolutely know that it was my choice. Fate intervenes. That was the one night that she hadn't turned her phone off and hadn't gone to bed early. So that's what stopped me. And if I go back to that moment, now if I really put my hippie shit head on, sometimes it's like somebody else walked into my body and took control. I don't know what was going on. But what I do know, and this is what's really, really important, is that in the moments that followed, once I'd got out of that stupor, that daze, that this is what I'm going to do, that absolute clarity that downloaded very, very quickly, in the moments that followed, I realised that I didn't actually want to die. Now, if I go back further than that to the story that so many of you will have already heard, the story about the time where I believed my only way out of the situation I was in, the abusive relationship I was in, the depression I was in, the struggling with my sexuality that I was in. So many of you will know that I thought back then the only way to get out was to die, and that's the story that culminated in me having a car accident and breaking my back. Now, I would love to be able to tell you all that since then, since all this personal development work that I do, I'm currently the UK's best female coach, and I've just been shortlisted as one of the UK's most inspirational businesswomen. I've written books, I've spoken on stages across the world, all of this jazz. I would love to be able to sit here and tell you that now I never ever have a thought like that. I never think about checking out. I never have a day where I think, you know what, I've just had enough. If I said that to you, I'd be lying. And I think if any person across the world says that to you, honestly, I think they'd be lying. Because I think that we all occasionally have moments where we think, I'm just so worn down, I'm just so empty, I'm so burned out. The shit is hitting my personal fan so much that I just want to get out of it. I think where we get confused is that society doesn't teach us the coping strategies for that. When we get to that point in burnout, in depression, in breakdown, whatever we want to call it, we're not conditioned, we're not taught that we can hit the pause button. When we get to that point, all too often, we think the only way out is a permanent vacation, where what we really need to do is just hit pause for a while. And that's where so many of the amazing groups that are out there, whether it's Samaritans, whether it's a local counselling service, whether it's people who talk about spiritual stuff like me, whether it's peers, people who know, that's where we need to recondition ourselves, not just as a society, as a world. We need to teach our young people, to teach everybody, that we can sometimes retreat, we can sometimes take a step back, and sometimes the way out doesn't have to be a permanent one. These are the thoughts that I've had. I still don't believe it's for me to say, don't do it. That's your choice. But what I can say is that one of the things that has stopped me so many times, and this really is with some of my spirituality head shit on, I remember sitting in meditation and speaking to a voice that I recognise as one of my guides, for those of you who believe that there's something out there other than us, whether it's angelic beings or spirit guides, whatever works for you, or whether you just want to believe that it's kind of a download from the universe. One of the things that stopped me when I've been there is this thought that if we do come back, and I personally believe we do, it's not for me to tell you that either, that's up to you. I personally believe that we come back and we have several lives. What if I check out before my time, that means I haven't completed the game, if you like. I haven't been through all the teachings, all the learnings that I need. What if that means I've got to go right back to the starting block and go through this all over again? I don't want to have to go through it all over again. So if this resonates with you in any way, isn't it better to just keep going through, learn all that we can in this life before time runs out on us, not before we choose to cut time. Let the time run out on us and use every moment. So that's one of the things that I believe. But here's another thing, and I really, 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 please take this one on board. Every now and then, I still have those thoughts. But compared to the way they used to be, they're fleeting. Every now and then I have a day, whether it's to be flippant for a moment, whether it's hormones popping, whether it's being overtired, whether it's just having so many things to try and juggle and deal with that I feel overloaded. Every now and then I still have one of those days. I think we all do. You know, there was a time where I used to wear a little elastic band, and every time I had one of those thoughts, I'd flick it. If I did that now, there'd be days where I'd be flicking it so much I'd have no wrist left. You know, there are days where if I'm talking to people I don't want to upset, I'll say, yeah, everything's fine, but my internet browsing history would tell you something entirely different. But here's the thing. If you keep having those thoughts, as I do from time to time, because again, I'm human, there's a real binary way of looking at it. We can sink down and choose to believe, well, I keep having those thoughts, so that must be a sign, and I need to leave the planet. If I keep having those thoughts, I need to just go. I don't want to keep having those thoughts, so I'm going to check out this time. Or you can do what I do. You can flip it the other way. I talk a lot about flipping negatives. For me, I go, you know what? I have these thoughts from time to time, and I'm still here. So that means they pass. That means that, you know, if I'd checked out 2 weeks ago, for instance, and that's a fictitious date, I'm just plucking it out of thin air, I wouldn't have had the amazing day I had a couple of days back. I wouldn't have just had the amazing week I've had in the southwest with my wife. I wouldn't be about to go onto a speaker training retreat with 13 people and teach them how to share their story with the world in a really positive way. Because for every down day I have, I know that when I let that pass, when I use all the tools in my toolkit I have to pull me out of that funk more quickly than I would be able to if I didn't have that toolkit, I know that at some point in the future there's going to be a day that's so amazing, so fucking brilliant, that it outshines every one of them. So there's that binary choice. If that thought keeps popping into your head every now and then, if every now and then you think, you know, I've had enough of this life, just remember that there's two ways of approaching it. You can keep saying, I keep having those thoughts, so I need to go. Or you can say, I've had those thoughts lots of times before and I'm still here. And actually, I've done some stuff that's okay. I'm all right. So that's my message. I can't tell you to stay if you don't want to, because that's not up to me. But I can remind you of the mess that when we choose to go, the carnage and the upset and the upheaval we leave for those behind us. I've lost people to suicide. I get that. I understand. I've seen the mess afterwards. I've seen the pain and the anguish that people go through. Think about that. Yes, a guilt trip. Tough. It's true. I've also seen and I know people who through no fault of their own, they don't have many days left, whether they've had a long life and their body's just running out of steam, or whether they're every day dealing with a terminal illness. And you know what? Those people, some of those people would give us £1 million for any one of our shitty days. So that's what I want to leave with you today. Because it's up to you. But please remember that there is a lot more to life. And as I said in that first video all those years back that went viral, even when we feel hopeless, there is always hope. There is. You got to find it and you got to grab it. But honestly, they're the two thoughts that always keep me going, apart from my loved ones and not wanting to not see my beautiful wife and my family in this lifetime again. But I don't want to end up right back at the start and have to go through all these teachings again. And two, the thoughts might keep coming because we're human and I genuinely believe they come for everyone. But that also means that we keep getting through them. So that's my message. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you feel able to just keep going and recognise that there will be good days ahead, then do that. If you're at the point where you're really thinking that there's no way out, for goodness sake, even with that caveat that I'm going to try and take your choice away from you, please talk to some people who can help, who will understand and will be able to give you some clarity before you do anything. That's it. Sometimes life feels shit, but you know what? Sometimes life is just unbelievably fucking amazing. Don't miss those bits. I'm Thornton. See you soon.